Hi, I'm Jeffrey Thomas. I'm here on a quiet Valentine's Day night with my inspirational beverage. This is the glass. It's agreeable to the touch. I'm here to promote a new book that I co-authored with W.H. Pugmire. It's a collection of short stories called Encounters with Enoch Coffin. It's going to be available for pre-order February 19th from Dark Regions Press. And again, in the interest of promoting this book, Dark Region's own Chris Morey sent me a number of interview questions via email. So I'm going to address those right now. The first question is, tell us about the time you first discovered H.P. Lovecraft. And that's relevant to the discussion because the short stories that compose this book are of a Lovecraftian slant, and they involve the Cthulhu mythos. I first discovered Lovecraft through Stephen King. I was familiar with Lovecraft as a boy. I enjoyed the Night Gallery episode, Pickman's Model, and but it wasn't really until I read King's short story collection. I guess it's Night Shift, and the short story Jerusalem's Lot. And besides being a prelude to King's novel Salem's Lot, it's a tribute to Lovecraft. And I thought, I love that story. I thought, this has a different character from King's other work. I really liked it. And then when I realized it was a tribute to Lovecraft, I decided to go to the source. So I went to the town library and I took out a book or two and I read, I think the first stories I read were In the Vault and The Call of Cthulhu. So I was hooked. And in the next few years, I had read all of Lovecraft's fiction and had a profound effect on me. And he remains my favorite author of the fantastic. The next question is, what attracted you to his writings? And I guess it's just the scope of the horror, that what people make much of the sense of cosmic horror that's just so awesome in scope that you can't even comprehend it. It's beyond human comprehension, and things coming from other dimensions, and that whole notion really appealed to me and resonated with me. And I guess that'd pretty much be what hooked me. Is just the scale of his horror and the mystery of it. You know, it's almost incomprehensible, like me. Which of his stories frightened you the most and inspired you the most? Boy, that would be hard to say which one frightened me the most. I don't know that I don't really know that I'm frightened by too many horror stories. I admire them and I find them eerie and disturbing, but I don't know that I'm outright frightened by anybody's stories. And it would be hard for me to say which one inspired me the most, because the whole is almost greater than the sum of its parts. If I said that cliche correctly, they've all been inspirational. I guess you could say my favorites would be like the case of Charles Dexter Ward and At the Mountains of Madness, Dreams in the Witch House. Again, it would be hard to even pick a favorite. Number 4, you have collaborated with the renowned Lovecraftian author W.H. Pugmire. Can you tell us how you two first connected? We first connected, it was probably 1991 or 92, when I was called upon to illustrate one of Pugmire's short stories for a small press publication called Heart Attack. I had read Pugmire before in Death Realm, and I admired his work. So I was really excited to be able to illustrate one of his short stories. So I started corresponding with him. And that correspondence has lasted to this day, over 20 years. And we've never met face to face, which I hope to rectify at the Necronomicon in Providence, Rhode Island this August. But I consider him my dearest writer friend. We've had a wonderful correspondence, starting with letters, and it went to audio cassette letters and emails, and now we've communicated through chats and so forth. So our friendship has spanned the advances of technology. And And I published his first American collection, a chapbook called Tales from Cisco Valley, through my Necropolitan Press. I've done a couple of his book covers, illustrated a few more of his stories. We've appeared in certain books together, certain anthologies together. But this collaboration on this short story collection is by far the most gratifying collaboration we've had. And not only that, but it's one of the books that I've worked on that I'm most proud of and that I had the most fun writing. And I'm sure Willem feels the same. He's expressed the same. And so it's that joy is really, I think, really reflected in this book. Number 5, who came up with the idea for Encounters with Enoch Coffin? Did it start with a character or a story? It was Willem's idea. He came to me with this concept of writing a series of short stories about a certain single character, a protagonist who is an artist, somewhat like Lovecraft's own Pickman. And he came to me because he knows I have a great affinity for his work, but also I'm an artist myself, and that maybe I could bring an artistic perspective to the book. So it started with the character, and it started through Willem's inspiration. Okay, question number 6. The book is a collection of stories following Enoch Coffin's experiences with the weird and fantastic. Do the stories follow a timeline, or do they take place at different times throughout Enoch's life? Kind of neither. They don't follow a chronological order or timeline. We didn't write them that way. We could have dispersed them if we wanted to in different ways. There were 2 stories, which I can't remember offhand right now, that Willem wanted to be side by side. 2 of his stories, he felt that they flowed in together well. But other than that, there's not a chronological timeline. And they don't take place over any really significant period of time. You don't know if this is a span of a year or 2 years or 5 years or a few months, whatever, because that's not really relevant. There's not a connecting plot line that requires a timeline or there's no stories about Enoch as a child or when he was 20 and 30 and so forth. That might be an interesting thing to do, but it's not something we did here. Question number 7. Clint LeDuc created 12 new interior illustrations just for this book. How long were you working on these illustrations with him? Boy, I wish before I did this interview, I wish I had looked at my email, which I had intended to do to address this question, because I can't remember at what point Clint came in. Clint had asked me if he could illustrate one of my books. It was going to be, he was going to do it. And originally we had talked about him doing a collection of my Punktown work, but then Willem and I were doing this, and I just thought, well, this would be a really good project for Clint to do instead of the Punktown book, because this is a book about a New England artist. Enoch Coffin, New England artist. Clint LeDuc, New England artist. It just made sense, and I just thought it would be great for a book about an artist to have beautiful illustrations throughout, and that's what we have. And it took a while, because Clint is a meticulous, obsessively detail-oriented artist. When you see his pictures, illustrations for this, you'll understand. They're done in pen and ink, and the detail is so intricate and minute and beautiful. And we were really, really lucky to get him. And he's been a friend of mine for a number of years. So it was great that we got to collaborate in this sense too. This book is all about collaboration. There's 2 writers and 2 artists, and it's really cool that we were able to bring our collective visions together. Okay, number 8. Renowned illustrator Santiago Caruso created some stunning artwork for the front and back cover of the book. Do you feel this artwork represents Enoch Coffin well? For the back cover, Santiago did a portrait of Enoch Coffin, which I think is stunning is the word. It's beautiful, and I think it does express Enoch Coffin's character well. In his eyes, there's almost like an obsessive, almost like a madness, and he's very sensual looking, a little scary, but very handsome and sexy. And I think the portrait does capture the essence of the character very well. And the front cover is beautiful as well. That shows an image of Enoch painting one of his paintings, and these like centipede-like extra-dimensional creatures are swarming. They're crawling on Enoch down his arm. It's almost like his muse has become embodied as a physical entity, some kind of creature that's crawled out of him, and it's crawling right into the canvas and tormenting the subjects of his painting. And I love that weird, insane interconnection between the artist and the artwork. That's so perfect, and I've never seen anything like it. Question number 9. What future collaborations between Jeffrey Thomas and W.H. Pugmire can we look forward to? Well, Willem and I enjoyed writing about Enoch Coffin so much that we plan on and very much look forward to writing a novel based on the character. And I don't know how we'll approach it. What we did in the collection was in the beginning we weren't sure how we were going to collaborate, what method we would use, if we would write every story together or if we'd write stories separately. We weren't sure. So I started first. Willem had something else going on. I started the first story and I showed it to Willem. I thought maybe he'd pick up the story from that point. And he liked it and he said, why don't you just continue with that? And that's what I did. And it developed that we wrote individual stories about the character. And I think the reason why we're able to make this book into a cohesive whole is because I've been such a fan of Pugmire's work for these many years, and I'm so familiar with his style that I felt that I could write work that complements his style without imitating it. I got into that Pugmire mindset, and I think I really think that it gels. And I'd finish a story and show him. He'd show me a story in progress, and we'd riff off of each other. And I wrote a little bit about Enoch's father, and Willem picked up on that and wrote a little bit about Enoch's mom. And in so doing, we developed background history for Enoch. So that's how we approached the short story collection. How we approach the novel remains to be seen, but we're both looking forward to it. We hope we can start on it soon. And I'm sure it'll be as much fun to write as this short story collection was. And I know it's a cliche, but I'm sure, well, I hope anyways, that it's as fun for the reader as it was for the authors to work on. And so I guess that pretty much wraps up this little interview. And I hope that kind of whets your appetite somewhat for the book, Encounters with Enoch Coffin, the tales of a mad, obsessed artist who wants to capture that which has never been captured by artists before. He wants to peek beyond the veils of reality and summon demons if he has to, and travel beyond dimensions if he has to, and use all kind of uncanny methods to, all in the interest of painting that which has never been painted before. And I will just say briefly how my own approach was to write about actual New England locations, because I'm a New England native, and Willem concentrated on the Lovecraftian New England settings like Arkham and Innsmouth and so forth. And I thought that's a neat feature. And another thing was I tried to make I wanted Enoch, in his quest to not only employ painting, but any artistic method he had to try to capture his vision. So one story he might go for the clay, another he might go for pen and ink painting. He's going to try whatever method he can to realize his vision. And so like I said, Willem wanted me aboard because of my knowledge as an artist. Not that I'm an accomplished artist, but I just a little of that perspective that I tried to bring to the book. Again, time to sign off. Finish my sensuous beverage. Thanks for listening.